Typhoon Class. Launched in 1980, the Dmitry Donskoy was a massive Cold War-era Russian submarine. It was a nuclear-powered ballistic missile sub that was part of Project 941, or Akula, earning the nickname Typhoon by NATO. Russia began developing these Typhoon-class submarines during the 1960s and 1970s. Some were reportedly equipped with a sauna and a swimming pool. The Dmitry Donskoy was truly massive, measuring in at 474 feet, 175 meters long, which is nearly the length of 2 American football fields. These submarines were the behemoths of the seas and were equipped with 20 missile launchers. What made Typhoon-class submarines like this one dangerous was the fact that they were known for being silent vessels with the capability of deadly surprise attacks. Also, these submarines had an ice-breaking system, so they could cross the Arctic. The Dmitry Donskoy was decommissioned in 2023. Bor Class. The replacement for Russia's Typhoon-class submarines is the Bor Class. These subs are not quite as big as their big brothers, but they're still very large, measuring at some 525 feet, 160 meters. The Bor Class submarines were deployed in 2012, with a crew of 130 officers and enlisted men. The maximum diving depth of the Bor Class is 1,400 feet, 427 meters. These submarines are capable of underwater missions that go for 90 to 100 days. While underwater, the Bor Class can reach speeds of 31 miles per hour. However, the Bor Class submarine program was a major headache from the start. The Yuri Dolgoruki was the first ship of the fleet, with construction beginning in 1996. Funding problems and other delays slowed down the process, but the Yuri Dolgoruki joined the Russian fleet in 2012. It's reported that the Yuri Dolgoruki alone cost Russia $1 billion. What makes this submarine special is the fact that it is less detectable to sonar than the Typhoon Class, but they lack the stealth of Typhoon Class and Ohio Class submarines. These Bor Class submarines have the capability to carry 16 missiles. One of the delays in the construction of the Yuri Dolgoruki was making sure the submarine could hold a new type of ballistic missile that has the ability to hit targets some 5,900 miles. 9,495 kilometers away. Unbelievable! Delta Class. Considered the cornerstone of their fleet, the Delta Class submarines have served the Russian military since the 1970s. They've ranged in classes 1 to 4, with 4 being the most current submarines. These submarines are roughly 547 feet, 167 meters long, and have been referred to as the Delphin or Dolphin Class Project 667 submarines, which were built between 1981 and 1992. The Delta Class 4 are capable of being underwater for 80 days, and these subs are equipped with 16 ballistic missiles. Akula Class. The Akula Class is part of Russia's fleet of attack submarines. In Russia, they're referred to as the Project 971 Shuka B class. They are 360 to 370 feet, 110 to 113 meters in length, and are armed with surface-to-air missiles. The Akula 1s were first deployed in 1986, and the Akula 3s were commissioned in 2001. These submarines can be underwater for 100 days, and the cruise missiles can be armed with warheads. The missiles have the ability to hit targets 1,800 miles or 2,897 meters away. What's impressive about the Akula class is that these submarines can hit 37 to 41 miles per hour, which is very impressive. In 2012, Russia loaned one of their Akula class submarines to India for a period of 10 years. Ohio Class. For nearly 50 years, the largest class of submarines for the United States Navy has been the Ohio Class, built between the 1970s and 1990s. These submarines are capable of carrying 24 Trident II nuclear missiles, which is the largest capacity for any submarine. Ohio Class submarines are 560 feet, 171 meters in length, and can hold a crew of 155 officers and enlisted men. The Ohio Class submarines are named after the USS Ohio, the first of its kind submarine that was launched in 1979. Ohio Class submarines can spend some 77 days underwater, and they can reach a depth of 1,000 feet, 305 meters. These submarines go 25 miles per hour, 40 kilometers per hour while submerged. After long missions, Ohio Class submarines will port for 35 days at Kings Bays, Georgia, and Bangor, Washington. Like the Typhoon Class Russian submarines, the Ohio Class submarines are just as stealthy and can strike just as quickly when called to action. Los Angeles Class. The backbone of the U.S. submarine fleet has been the Los Angeles Class, or LA Class submarines. Currently, there are 36 of this class in service, and they are nuclear-powered. These submarines measure some 360 feet, or 110 meters, and can hold a crew of 143 officers and enlisted men. They have a diving depth of 800 feet, 244 meters. These are some of the quickest submarines in the U.S. fleet, as they are equipped with Tomahawk missiles. These submarines can reach a maximum speed of 28 miles per hour, 45 kilometers per hour. Los Angeles Class submarines can deploy Special Forces units, and they're capable of laying mines. These submarines are also capable of operating under the ice. While the Los Angeles Class has been an exceptional class, these submarines are set to be replaced by the Virginia Class during the 2030s. Seawolf Class. The Seawolf Class are known for being well-armed and more quiet than their Los Angeles Class counterparts. There are currently 3 of this class in the U.S. naval fleet. Like the Los Angeles Class, they're armed with Tomahawk missiles. Seawolf Class submarines were commissioned in 1997. They measure 350 to 450 feet, 107 to 137 meters, and can hold a crew of 140 officers and enlisted men. These submarines were developed to seek out and hunt enemy submarines. Like the Los Angeles Class, the Seawolf Class was designed for search and destroy missions, plus intelligence missions for the U.S. Navy. Virginia Class. The newest member of the U.S. Navy's submarine class is the Virginia Class. They are 377 to 460 feet, 115 to 140 meters in length, and can hold a crew of 120 officers and enlisted men. Like the Los Angeles Class and Seawolf classes, they are armed with Tomahawk missiles. However, there are plans to incorporate a high-energy laser weapon. This class is currently the most state-of-the-art for the attack submarines in the U.S. Navy. However, they are the most costly at $2.7 billion per submarine. Do you think you have what it takes to be a crew member of a submarine? Let us know in the comments below. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Vanguard Class, United Kingdom. At 491 feet, 150 meters in length, the Vanguard Class submarines are the backbone of the UK's strategic nuclear deterrent force. Currently, there are 4 in the Royal Navy. These submarines were built between 1985 and 1999. Their home port is Her Majesty's Naval Base, Clyde, located some 25 miles, 40 kilometers from Glasgow, Scotland. The Vanguard Class submarines have the ability to carry 192 warheads, like the Trident II D5 nuclear missiles, with a target range of 5,000 miles, 8,047 kilometers. When fired, the Trident II D5 missile will travel at an incredible 13,000 miles per hour, 20,921 kilometers per hour. These submarines have 16 missile tubes, and their sonar system is so good that they can detect ships over 50 miles, 80 kilometers away. The life of these submarines is 30 years. While these submarines have been stellar for the Royal Navy, they are eventually going to be scrapped and will be replaced by the Dreadnought class sometime in the 2030s. Le Triomphant Class, France. France's Navy has relied upon their Le Triomphant class submarines since 1997. Measuring in at some 453 feet, 138 meters, and can carry a crew of 111 officers and enlisted men. The nuclear capabilities for this class of submarine includes 16 ballistic nuclear missiles and a thermonuclear warhead that carries 6 multiple independently targetable re-entry vehicles, MIRVs. These missiles could hit targets in Russia and China. Additional weapons include anti-ship missiles and torpedoes. The Le Triomphant class submarines spend up to 60 days underwater, and their main port is Ile Lounge, Western Brittany. 4 Le Triomphant class of submarines are currently in operation. Gan Class, China. China's largest submarine class is the Gan, and they measure some 449 feet in length. The Gan class submarines are equipped with 6 ballistic missiles, and they can hit targets over 6,000 miles, 9,656 kilometers away. That means the Gan class submarine can hit targets in the continental United States. These submarines were first tested in 2018. It is supposed to have been a quiet system and is considered by the Department of Defense as China's first credible sea-based nuclear deterrent. Collins Class, Australia. Measuring at 254 feet, 77 meters in length, the Collins Class submarines are the top of the line for the Royal Australian Navy. They can carry a crew of 48 officers and enlisted men, and these submarines have the ability to go up to 590 feet, 180 meters underwater. These submarines are armed with missiles and can be armed with mines in lieu of torpedoes. Submarine Facts. We've reviewed some of the biggest submarines in the world. Now we would like to share with you some of the most interesting submarine facts in history. The first functioning submarine was the Turtle, and it was a one-man vessel used by American colonists against the British. It was deployed on September 6, 1776. The Turtle was an egg-shaped submarine made of carved oak. It was armed with a torpedo made from a keg of powder. However, the torpedo would be attached to an enemy ship's hull, and that's what happened when the Turtle attempted to use a torpedo against the HMS Eagle in New York Harbor in 1776. The Turtle failed on its first attempt, but was captured by the British on a second attempt. The USS Nautilus was the first nuclear-powered submarine, and was operational in late 1954. Did you know that the USS Nautilus was the first submarine to cross the Arctic Ocean? It took 3 attempts to achieve a trip under the Arctic ice cap. This was accomplished in 1958. The USS George Washington was the first submarine to be armed with nuclear weapons. It entered service in 1959, and it successfully fired 2 test missiles in 1960. The first submarine to fire a missile was the USS Cusk in 1947. Did you know that between 1963 and 1969, 3 U.S. submarines sank in the ocean? The USS Thresher sank near Cape Cod in 1963 following a failure of the piping system, which caused a loss of power. The Thresher sank, and all 129 on board died. The USS Scorpion sank near the Azores, an island chain near Portugal, in 1968, claiming the lives of all 99 on board. The reason behind the sinking is still a mystery to this day. In 1969, the USS Guataro sank while in a California shipyard. This cause was improper ballasting. The Russian K-222 was reportedly the fastest submarine in history. It reached speeds of 51 miles per hour underwater in 1970. The first submarine to sink a warship during wartime was the H.L. Hunley. This was a Confederate submarine that was used during the Civil War. It was February 17, 1864, when the H.L. Hunley was sent out following months of practice runs. Weather delays also slowed down the first mission of this Confederate submarine. However, under cover of darkness, the H.L. Hunley silently approached USS Housatonic, a U.S. military warship that was on blockade duty 4 miles off the entrance to Charleston Harbor in South Carolina. The H.L. Hunley was equipped with a torpedo packed with explosive black powder bolted to a 16-foot pole. The H.L. Hunley rammed into the USS Housatonic and detonated the torpedo. Both the H.L. Hunley and the USS Housatonic were damaged and both sank. The H.L. Hunley's wreckage was discovered some 100 years later. The deepest dive by a manned submarine occurred in 2019, when Victor Vescovo took his submarine some 35,849 feet, 10,927 meters, into the Mariana Trench in the Pacific Ocean. His record was 36 feet, 11 meters more than what director James Cameron achieved in 2012. While the dive was successful, Vescovo was upset to discover a plastic bag and candy wrappers at the bottom of the ocean. It was also an incredibly dangerous attempt because of the darkness and pressure at that depth. CBS News reported in 2019 that the pressure was the equivalent of 50 jumbo jets piled on top of a person. Thanks for watching. Are there any ships or planes you'd like us to make a video about? Let us know down below in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe. See you next time. Bye.